imagine a power so profound, so transformative, that when it steps into your life, everything, your purpose, your relationships, your very destiny begins to shift. It's not about trying harder, working longer, or chasing more. It's about opening the door to a presence greater than yourself, a divine force that changes not just your circumstances, but the very atmosphere around you. You see, the Holy Spirit is not just a concept or a distant idea. It is the living power of God, ready to inhabit your heart, ignite your passion, and release a new level of authority and peace. When you invite this presence in, it's like stepping into a new dimension where limitations fall away and impossible becomes inevitable. The question isn't whether you need the Holy Spirit, it's whether you are willing to surrender control and allow that sacred presence to lead your every step. There is a power available to you, an invisible yet undeniable force that when it comes into your life, it begins a transformation that no human effort can replicate. This is the Holy Spirit, the divine power that changes your life from the inside out. Many people think that change happens because they try harder, work smarter, or push longer. But the truth is, the most significant transformation begins with an invitation, a surrender to something greater than ourselves. Have you ever noticed how a seed planted in the soil carries the potential for a mighty tree? No matter how much you water the ground or try to force it to grow, it must first go through an unseen process beneath the surface. A transformation invisible to the eye before it can break through and become what it was created to be. The Holy Spirit works like that seed's life force, moving beneath the surface of your heart, rearranging, renewing, and rebuilding the very core of who you are. The Bible tells us in John 14:26, but the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you. This verse is not just a comforting promise. It is a declaration of the active presence that comes alongside you, not to merely assist, but to teach, guide, and transform your understanding and action. Have you ever struggled to find direction or clarity, only to realize later that an unexpected insight or a quiet voice led you to the right decision? That's the Spirit at work, sometimes gentle, sometimes urgent, but always with a purpose to align you with your true path. Consider the example of a potter working with clay. The potter doesn't force the clay, but patiently molds and shapes it, removing what is unnecessary and forming it into a vessel of purpose. You and I are like that clay, raw, imperfect, and full of potential. The Holy Spirit is the master potter's hands, delicately reshaping the contours of your life, softening the hardened places, and crafting you into a vessel that can hold not only blessings, but also be a blessing to others. How often do we resist that molding because it requires us to let go of control? What if the discomfort you feel is actually the Spirit's way of preparing you for a greater purpose? Many people live their entire lives trying to change external circumstances, new jobs, new relationships, new habits, yet still feel empty or stuck. The real change begins inside. When the Holy Spirit enters your life, it ignites a transformation in your values, your mindset, and your heart's desires. It's like a magnet, shifting your priorities from fleeting success to eternal significance. Imagine a lighthouse standing firm in the storm. It does not change the storm, but it transforms the darkness into a path of safety. The Holy Spirit does something similar. It doesn't always change your challenges immediately, but it changes the way you see and navigate through them. Well, ask yourself, what if the key to the breakthrough you've been seeking isn't in what you do, but in who you allow to come in? What if inviting the Holy Spirit means stepping into a partnership where divine power works through your weaknesses and limitations? This partnership doesn't diminish your role, it enhances it. It's the difference between trying to light a dark room with a candle versus turning on the main power switch. The candle flickers and fades, but the power switch floods the entire space with light. And when you begin to live in alignment with the Spirit's power, your decisions carry wisdom beyond your own understanding, your relationships begin to heal, and your purpose becomes clear. The transformation is not always immediate or dramatic on the outside, but it is undeniable on the inside. You become a new creation, not by your own strength, but by the Spirit's presence working in you. This is the divine power that makes everything change, not because your circumstances must change first, but because your heart has changed. What doors could open if you truly invited this power in today? What mountains could move if you stopped relying on your strength and began relying on this transformative presence? The Holy Spirit is not just a power to be received, it is a life to be lived, a constant companion, and the key to unlocking everything you were created to be. Many people believe that change and progress come from pushing harder, striving more, or controlling every situation around them. But true transformation isn't about adding effort to your life. It's about surrendering control and inviting a greater power to lead you. When you think about the moments in your life when things shifted in unexpected, profound ways, wasn't it often when you let go of trying to force outcomes and instead allowed something beyond yourself to guide the process? This is the essence of inviting the Holy Spirit. Not just as an addition to your routine, but as the source of your direction and strength. The Bible speaks clearly about surrender in Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and do not lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will make straight your paths. Trust means letting go of your grip on the wheel and allowing God's Spirit to steer your life. It means moving from self-reliance to spirit reliance, from control to faith. How often do we try to hold tightly to our plans, our ideas of how life should unfold, only to find ourselves frustrated, tired, or lost? What if the breakthrough you are looking for is not in controlling more, but in surrendering more? Think of a surfer riding the waves. The surfer does not fight the ocean or try to control the waves. Instead, they learn to read the currents, balance with the movement, and ride the power beneath them. The surfer's strength isn't in resistance, but in cooperation with the force of the sea. Your life is much the same when you invite the Holy Spirit in. It's not about forcing your will through sheer effort, but about aligning yourself with the Spirit's leading and power. Are you trying to paddle upstream against a current that wants to carry you forward? Or are you willing to shift your posture and let the Spirit guide your path like the surfer riding the wave? This surrender is not weakness. It is strength wrapped in humility. It takes courage to admit that you cannot do it all on your own. It requires faith to release your plans and trust in a divine strategy. Yet, this is exactly where transformation begins. When you stop trying to manage every detail and instead open your heart to the Spirit, you unlock a power that works on your behalf in ways you cannot imagine. Like a GPS recalculating your route when you take a wrong turn, the Holy Spirit guides you back on course with precision and grace. Consider a gardener who plants seeds. The gardener cannot control the weather, the soil, or the growth process. What the gardener can do is prepare the ground, plant the seed, and trust the natural process to bring about growth. Trying to speed it up by pulling on the shoots or forcing the buds to bloom only damages the plant. In the same way, our efforts to force change in our lives without surrendering to the Spirit often lead to frustration and burnout. What if your growth requires patience and trust rather than pressure and control? Ask yourself, how much of your life are you trying to control right now? What areas are you holding on to so tightly that you block the power of the Holy Spirit from flowing freely? The invitation is to stop holding on so tightly and begin to yield, to acknowledge that you need help beyond your own ability and to trust that the Spirit will lead you where you need to go, even if it's not the route you planned. Surrender does not mean inaction. It means active cooperation. It means daily choosing to listen, obey, and follow the promptings of the Spirit instead of your own impulses. It is like a dance where both partners must move in harmony. When you try to lead without following, the dance falters. But when you surrender your control and move with the Spirit, the dance becomes fluid, powerful, and full of purpose. This is why so many people who experience the presence of the Holy Spirit report a deep peace and clarity that surpasses their understanding. It's because they have stopped relying on their own strength and control and have started relying on a power that sees the bigger picture, knows the perfect timing, and works all things together for good. What could change in your life if you truly stopped trying to do it alone? What freedom would come if you gave the Spirit full access to lead your steps, your decisions, and your purpose? Inviting the Holy Spirit is not about adding more to your to-do list. It's about surrendering the need to control the to-do list at all. It's about trusting the unseen hand that guides your life toward its highest destiny. When you choose surrender over control, you open the door to a transformation far greater than your own effort could ever achieve. When the Holy Spirit enters your life, something powerful happens, not just on the inside, but in the environment around you. This presence has the ability to shift your atmosphere and break limitations that once seemed immovable. Many of us live trapped in circumstances, thinking the walls that surround us are unbreakable. But the Spirit's arrival changes the entire dynamic. It's like a fresh wind blowing through a stagnant room, opening windows, clearing the air, and inviting new possibilities. Have you ever experienced a moment when everything seemed stuck, only for a sudden breakthrough to change your situation completely? That is the Spirit moving to break the chains that bind you. The Bible reminds us in 2 Corinthians 3:17, now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. Freedom is not just an abstract concept. It is the reality that the Holy Spirit brings when He comes into your life. This freedom is from fear, from limitation, from old patterns that have kept you small. Imagine a bird trapped inside a cage, fluttering helplessly against the bars. The cage represents the limitations, doubts, insecurity, failure that confine us. But when the cage door opens, that same bird soars with new strength and purpose. The Spirit unlocks those cages in your life and invites you to fly. Think about the atmosphere in a room when a single person walks in. Sometimes it shifts. Their presence can bring peace, tension, joy, or clarity. Now imagine a presence so powerful, so filled with divine authority, that it changes the atmosphere everywhere it goes. The Holy Spirit is that presence. When invited in, He doesn't just change your inner mood, but transforms the entire environment, the relationships, the opportunities, and even the obstacles. Have you ever noticed how some people just seem to bring life and energy wherever they go? What if that life-giving power is available to you when you invite the Spirit to lead? Consider a locked door you've been trying to open for years. You may have tried every key you own, every trick you've learned, and yet the door remains shut. The Holy Spirit brings a master key, a power and authority beyond your own that can unlock what seemed impossible. This key doesn't work by force, but by divine design, aligning every circumstance and person needed to open the way. What doors in your life remain closed, and what would happen if you trusted the Spirit to unlock them? The limitation you experience may be in your career, your health, your relationships, or your sense of purpose. But these walls were never meant to be permanent barriers. They are temporary obstacles waiting to be dismantled. When you allow the Holy Spirit to inhabit your life, you are inviting a power that breaks through strongholds. like a river cutting through rock, not by power alone, but by persistence and divine direction. The Spirit carves out new paths where none existed before. Ask yourself, what limitations have you accepted as permanent? What barriers have you resigned yourself to, thinking they define your reality? The Holy Spirit's presence challenges those limits and invites you to a new reality, one where freedom and possibility reign. This is not wishful thinking. It is a promise backed by divine authority. Imagine you're trying to light a dark room with a small candle. No matter how much you shield the flame, it flickers and struggles to hold back the darkness. Now imagine flipping on a powerful light switch that floods the entire space with brightness. The candle represents your own efforts to overcome limitations, fragile and fleeting. The light switch is the Holy Spirit, a power that does not compete with darkness but overwhelms it completely. When the Spirit moves, chains are broken, fears are cast out, and new visions come alive. You may not always understand the timing or the process, but the atmosphere begins to change. What once was impossible becomes possible. What once was locked becomes unlocked. This is why inviting the Holy Spirit is essential to transformation. It's not just about internal change, it's about shifting the entire environment so that your destiny can unfold without hindrance. What if the difference between where you are now and where you want to be is simply inviting the Spirit to come in and move freely? What walls could fall? What limitations could break? If you stopped relying on your own strength and began trusting in this divine presence. The Spirit's power does not just influence, it liberates, it transforms, and it propels you beyond what you thought possible. This is the power of inviting the Holy Spirit. The ability to change the atmosphere around you and break every limitation standing in your way. True change begins when you open your heart, not just your mind. It's one thing to understand ideas or believe certain truths intellectually, but it is another thing entirely to allow those truths to penetrate the core of who you are. Your emotions, your desires, your very will. The heart is the seat of transformation, and the Holy Spirit speaks directly to this place within you. Have you ever experienced a moment when something you learned or heard suddenly touched you deeply and caused you to see yourself or your circumstances in a new light? That is the Spirit working through your heart, awakening what the mind alone cannot change. The Bible teaches in Ezekiel 36:26, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit within you. I will remove your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. This verse reveals the fundamental truth that true transformation requires a softened heart, a heart willing to be changed, healed, and made alive. A heart of stone is hardened by past pain, doubt, and resistance, blocking the flow of divine power. A heart of flesh is tender, responsive, and open, ready to receive the Spirit's life-giving influence. Which kind of heart are you carrying today? Is it hardened by disappointment, fear, or skepticism, or is it soft, willing, and ready to be transformed? Think about how water shapes stone over time. A river doesn't conquer a mountain by brute force, but by persistent flow. The constant movement of water softens the hardest rock until it is carved into new shapes and pathways. Your heart is much like that stone. If it is hard and closed off, the Spirit's power struggles to create change. But when your heart is open like flowing water, the Spirit can mold, shape, and transform you into something new. What areas of your heart have you held tightly, refusing to let the Spirit move freely? What resistance might be keeping your transformation stalled? Imagine someone reading a book but never allowing the words to touch their feelings or change their perspective. The information remains surface level and nothing truly shifts. But when the reader opens their heart, the story moves from mere knowledge to deep impact. It becomes part of their identity and shapes their actions. This is the difference between knowing about God and living a life empowered by His Spirit. The heart is where faith grows and where miracles begin. When you invite the Holy Spirit into your heart, it's like opening a door to a room that's been locked for years. Inside that room is your true potential, your God-given purpose, and a source of peace and joy that cannot be found elsewhere. But the door remains closed until you are willing to unlock it with trust and surrender. What if the breakthrough you've been praying for requires more than just mental agreement? What if it requires a heart willing to be vulnerable, honest, and fully open to change? Consider the example of a gardener tending to soil before planting seeds. If the soil is hard and compacted, the seed cannot take root or grow properly. The gardener must first till the ground, soften it, and prepare it for new life. Your heart is the soil, and the Holy Spirit is the gardener, preparing you for growth. Are you willing to allow your heart to be prepared, even if it means discomfort or letting go of old habits? Ask yourself, are you inviting the Spirit to move beyond your mind and into your heart? What fears, doubts, or past wounds might be keeping you from opening fully? The invitation is to not just know about change, but to experience it deeply where it matters most, in your heart. When your heart opens, the Spirit can bring healing where there was hurt, hope where there was despair, and clarity where there was confusion. This inner transformation naturally flows outward, changing how you relate to others, how you make decisions, and how you walk in your purpose. The heart is the gateway to a life transformed by the Spirit. What if the change you desire is not just a new strategy or a new idea, but a new heart? What if the power to overcome your challenges is found in the place you often guard the most? Opening your heart to the Holy Spirit invites a transformation so deep that nothing can remain the same. This is why true change begins when you open your heart, not just your mind. The heart is where the Spirit ignites new life, new hope, and a new you. Living by the Holy Spirit releases your destiny and purpose fully. It's one thing to have a dream, a vision, or a calling, but it's another thing entirely to live in alignment with the divine power that brings those dreams to life. Many people walk through life carrying their purpose like a distant hope, a flickering flame struggling to stay alive amid distractions, doubts, and obstacles. But when the Holy Spirit inhabits your life, that flame becomes a roaring fire that lights your path clearly and fuels every step toward your destiny. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to fulfill their purpose effortlessly, while others struggle endlessly, despite their efforts? The difference is often not talent or opportunity, but the presence of the Spirit guiding their journey. The Bible tells us in Galatians 5:25, if we live by the Spirit, let us also walk by the Spirit. This is not just a suggestion, but a principle for living a fulfilled, purposeful life. To live by the Spirit means to allow the Holy Spirit to lead your thoughts, decisions, and actions daily. It means that your purpose is not something you carry alone, but something you walk out in partnership with divine guidance and power. When you try to pursue your destiny without the Spirit, it's like trying to navigate a vast ocean without a compass. You may move, but you risk going in circles or running aground. With the Spirit as your guide, every step is purposeful, every decision aligned, and every obstacle met with divine strength. Think about a GPS system in a car. You set the destination, but the GPS does not just tell you where to go. It recalculates your route when you take a wrong turn, warns you about traffic, and offers the best path forward. Living by the Spirit is like having a divine GPS for your life. You still set your goals, but the Spirit guides you around pitfalls, adjusts your course when necessary, and helps you arrive at your destiny with greater ease and confidence. Are you willing to follow that guidance even when it leads you through unfamiliar territory? Consider the example of a musician playing in an orchestra. Each player knows their part, but true harmony happens only when they listen carefully to the conductor and to each other. The Spirit is like the conductor in your life, bringing all the pieces together, directing timing, and ensuring that your gifts, talents, and purpose flow in perfect harmony. When you resist the Spirit's leading, your life can feel out of sync, like a musician playing solo in a full orchestra. But when you yield, the music of your life becomes beautiful, powerful, and impactful. Ask yourself, how often do you try to walk your path alone, relying on your own strength, understanding, or timing? What might change if you committed to walking by the Spirit every day, trusting that this divine presence knows the perfect steps for your journey? The Spirit does not just light the way. The Spirit equips you to overcome challenges, to persevere when things get tough, and to celebrate victories with humility and gratitude. Imagine a sculptor working with a block of marble. The sculptor sees the masterpiece hidden within the stone and carefully chips away what is unnecessary until the true form is revealed. Your destiny is like that masterpiece, and the Holy Spirit is the sculptor who reveals it piece by piece. Without the Spirit's hand, the stone remains rough and unshaped, your potential hidden beneath layers of doubt, fear, and distraction. What parts of your life need the Spirit's touch to reveal your true purpose? Living by the Spirit also brings clarity. Many people feel confused about their purpose because they try to rely solely on their own reasoning or the opinions of others. The Spirit brings a peace and certainty that cuts through confusion and aligns your heart and mind with God's plan. This clarity is not always loud or dramatic. It often comes as a quiet assurance, a deep knowing that you are on the right path, even when the road is difficult. What if the reason your dreams seem distant or your purpose unclear is that you haven't fully embraced the Spirit's leadership? What if the breakthrough you seek is not found in working harder, but in yielding more? When you live by the Spirit, you tap into a source of power and wisdom far beyond your own, enabling you to fulfill your destiny with confidence and joy. This is why living by the Holy Spirit releases your destiny and purpose fully. It transforms your journey from a struggle to a partnership, from uncertainty to clarity, and from hidden potential to fulfilled promise. As we stand on the threshold of transformation, remember this. Inviting the Holy Spirit into your life is not a one-time event, but a daily choice. A surrender that unlocks freedom, breaks every limitation, softens your heart, and guides you step by step into your divine destiny. When you open yourself fully to this presence, you tap into a power far greater than your own efforts, a wisdom beyond your understanding, and a peace that surpasses all circumstances. So take that step today. Invite the Holy Spirit in and watch everything change. Thank you for your time and your openness to this life-changing journey. May you walk forward with confidence, knowing that a divine presence is leading your way. Good luck, and God bless you richly.